This one post has 3.6 million views in the last 2 days on my threads. Okay.
Amazing.
I hated sales. I hated marketing. I liked connecting with people. And I got really confused when they said no to me. I didn't understand because I had a solution that could really help them. And I knew that I could change their life. But when I said to them, yeah, send me an email and I'll send you my prices, they ghosted me. And I didn't understand why. Okay. And so looking back now, it's hilarious because I still have these emails in my email. It's so embarrassing to look at. But I had to go through getting people telling me no so many times in sales to understand, well, sales and marketing have to be interconnected. The touch points across the entire journey need to look the same. They need to feel the same, but the things that you show them need to look slightly different. And so that's where ultimately now we really got into the psychology behind where people are at, depending upon where they are in their stage of awareness with you. This comes from, of course, Eugene Schwartz's 5 stages of awareness. I really tapped into learning and understanding that. And then I pretty much just figured out how to sell through social media because the way that you have to sell on social media is so different than the way that you sell to referrals. And so typically what we find is that we're working with a lot of people who are either running a ton of ads and generating revenue through ads, and now they want to, maybe their ads cost has capped out, they can't spend more, or with everything that's going on in the world, the cost is going up, so they want to get it down through social media, which is a really good way to do it because people then start stalking you on the internet. And if they don't find anything organic, then of course the ads cost is going to be higher because the organic social then supplements the cost. And then B, the second thing is if people are selling through referrals, again, you have the third party endorsement, right? So if Amy's going to say something good about me to other people and they trust Amy, then they aren't going to be doing as much research about me because they trust Amy. I've got that third party endorsement as an example. Whereas on social media, they don't know who you are. They see you for the first time. And so I just really thought, how is it that people, though, they trust me so much from my content, but then from sales, they don't trust me at all? And then that was the problem that I began solving for through really just understanding sales psychology and nerding out on that. And so I think sometimes the thing that is your weakness, like you're going to have to bring it up at some point because otherwise, you can have this massive strength in one place, but then you're just leaking everything out in another area. That was what was happening to me. And so, yeah, about 9 or 8 years ago, I figured it out on selling on social media. And if I was to sell in person, though, it would be a different story. I haven't tried to figure that one out yet. So there we are. Here we are today.
So I'm curious about this coming from someone who, has the corporate background, and for a while, one of the core elements that I was training my clients on inside of a mastermind that I led was around high ticket sales and how to have these high ticket sales conversations and in a way that doesn't feel salesy or pitchy. And I've always been really inspired by people who could sell through social media. So can you just take us a little bit like a peek behind the curtain on just some initial tips? Because I'm sure that if others are like me, we're like, how have you been able to do that so successfully? I'm sure that it probably requires a much deeper training, but even if you gave us like a highlight, of highlights of an overview, what would that look like in terms of selling through social media?
So there's a few different ways to do it, depending upon what type of volume you're doing and also how you're more comfortable to sell, right? So for example, for years I actually sold exclusively through the DMs. And then I switched to also have like a phone sales team. And then I switched to making people pay a small fee to get onto a sales call to then enroll them straight there on the phone. And then also the set a closer model. There's just many, many different ways to do it. My personal favorite approach is twofold actually. Typically for people who are, let's say, experts in their space, who want to have a small, lean business, which is agile. That's typically where I'm spending most of my time. Now, don't get me wrong, like I think having a big phone sales team where you have like setters and closers who are triaging like dozens of calls all day long and then scheduling them onto a closer's calendar, that's great. It's just a big operation. And I have to say, like most of the people that I'm talking to all day, every day, and I have this feeling that most of the people who are watching this probably don't have that giant sales team. Am I right in thinking that, Amy?
Yeah, there might be some, but I would say a majority of people probably who are watching, if they have a sales team, it might be one person or maybe a setter and a closer. I'd be willing to bet that. Although, of course, there's probably the exception of some of our colleagues that are watching, they're like, oh, I've got, 10 salespeople and, so, but I'd say probably a majority don't have that.
Totally, exactly. And so my preferred model is essentially to have one or two setters who are getting calls booked onto their calendar all day long from the traffic that's coming from any source. It doesn't have to just be social media, but I'll get to the point of social media in a second, because I really do see social media as a traffic source, not as the be all end all. Right? I think people get really caught up on social media, social media, social media, or ads, 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 or SEO, SEO. These are just traffic sources, right? And so when you think through that lens, the way that you approach the strategy becomes very different. But back to the point, I like the model when specifically we talk about, okay, how to sell online. Having one or two setters who their calendar is just getting booked all day, every day. Maybe they're taking 20 to 30 calls each, 15, 10 minutes. They're just back to back on calls constantly. Then the goal of marketing becomes filling those guys up. And obviously, they need to make sure that they're getting those calls to show up. That's part of their role as well. Some of our clients also have an assistant who phones those leads up to make sure that the calls show, depending upon how much volume they're getting. And then actually the founder takes the qualified leads and the setters downsell into some type of low ticket product. I found
Mhm.
the easiest thing because getting setters trained on closing kind of defeats the purpose of their role. I found that having one solid low ticket funnel with a few order bumps and upsells so that the average order value can be somewhere between 65 and $75, that has typically been the most effective strategy that I've personally seen. Because you're probably then, if you're running ads, not going to be liquidating like the full 100% on the front end or through the low ticket offer, but you'll be liquidating somewhere between like 0.6 to 0.8 when it comes down to the total. And that's fine because then you know for sure that you're going to be making the profits on the back end when it comes to the high ticket sales, because ultimately this process allows you to actually disqualify the majority of leads, and then founder can take the really highly qualified leads. Because again, I'm talking about who I'm typically working with. The founders will say, just put qualified leads on my calendar and I'll close them, no problem. So then the founder's time has to be protected by the one or two setters, so they're disqualifying. The founder can then take 1 to 4 calls a day, qualified leads. They know for sure they're going to close 70 to 80% of those, maybe even higher, depending upon how skilled they are. And then from there, the non-qualified leads, as time goes on, you can actually, this is where, the founder can directly have a closer come in and shadow them and then begin to slowly give those calls to a closer who they're onboarding slowly, slowly. The key is extremely slowly. And ultimately, I also like the closer that's coming in to start setting their own calls in the beginning. And then if they get a really high quality lead, they pass it through to the founder. And actually, we're using a lot of AI in this process. It's really cool to actually make sure that the calls show up on time. We're even right now testing a AI setter that we've with one of our partners. Really, like, it literally sounds like me. It's kind of scary, voice agent. And so there's tons of cool stuff that you can do there, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. So that was the first part on how the team setup looks. But when it comes to selling through social media as a whole, that was your original question. So I have this massive belief in really understanding the psychology of your market. Okay. So I think a lot of people make the mistake in that they try to create demand in their market. So they think, okay, I'm really good at this thing. Everybody needs this thing. I'm so good at it. Like, here's why you need this thing. Okay. And don't get me wrong, there is definitely a massive percentage of the market that can be persuaded one way or the other. But I'm going to tell you how I learned this, okay? And I learned this the hard way, and it even still to this day frustrates me, okay? And again, going back to the point, the things that frustrate you or that are painful for you, I think are often the biggest learning opportunities. So I told you, right? Like, I'm obsessed with fitness. I still love it, even though it's not my business now. I still go to the gym like a freak constantly. Like, it's for me my hobby, okay? I'm kind of weird like that, but it's cool. We all have our weird hobbies. So my parents have like maybe been to the gym maybe 5 times in their life, and they don't run, they don't exercise, and I can't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me, okay? And I told you, like, I lost like 50 pounds. And so they saw me get really healthy, they saw me starting eating good, but I kept telling them, you guys need to do this, you need to do that. Like, here's why. And I would explain to them why, and they logically understood. Emotionally, they understood. I even told them, like, you guys are going to die young if you don't do this. And I want you to be able to spend time with your grandkids one day, you know? And I would give them the emotion, I'd give them the logic, and they still wouldn't listen to me. And it didn't make any sense. And then at that same time, I was learning a ton about marketing. And then I realized, well, they are just like totally unaware. And it's not even something that even resonates with them as a problem for them. And so I was essentially trying to convince the unconvincible. And it was really, really frustrating. And so what I see is a lot of people trying to convince their supposed market that they need something when they don't.
Right.
Instead, they'd be way better off going towards the people who already know that they need something, and now they're in the decision-making phase as to who they should go with, or they're in the learning phase as to how to actually solve this problem themselves. Because if you target those people and if you speak to those people, whether it's on social media, through your ads, through your blog posts, through whatever it is, affiliate marketing, JVs, webinars, when you talk to those guys and girls, the really cool thing is that, well, they already understand the problem. So you can speak to someone who's, let's call it, further along in the buying journey. And then from there, you're able to put out offers, etc., that really resonate with those people. And I just think it's super fascinating because when you'll switch your marketing from super basic stuff, like, let's just say you have a web design agency, right? I see tons of really good web design agencies making this super basic AI generated content that they haven't even prompted at all. And it's like they've gone into ChatGPT or something and they've typed, write me a social media post about websites. And then it's like, ready to boost and skyrocket your
I
online
know.
presence? Here's the 5 reasons why you need a website. Number one, brand visibility. And then there's like a rocket emoji with like a star and all
Yeah.
this like cringy stuff. But that's not the content that's gonna actually drive results. You're better off like making content, which would be something like, I met a guy who invested 25K in getting a custom web design built. After making these 3 tweaks, he's increased his conversions by whatever the percentage is. And then, anyways, you then explain the tweaks that you've made because that person's already put money in. They're looking to get traffic, right? So I'm just bringing this up because you will not make sales through social media or anything online, really, except referrals, unless you optimize what you're putting out there to be stranger friendly. Like, it has to be social media sales friendly, aka sales friendly. And that's not only your content, but also your offer and you, the personal brand, too. Okay. So if a stranger lands on your profile for the first time, you want them to think, heck yeah, this is for me. This person knows their stuff. They're super smart. They're dialed in with what they're saying. And they want to feel like this is speaking exactly directly to me. So maybe I spoke for a long time there, but hopefully that answers some of the question. I can maybe keep talking about this for like 5 hours. So
Yeah,
guide me on where you want me to go.
no, but I'm leaning in because I love what you're speaking into. And I love that, I know we got to have, some chats before this about how it really is about identifying like who is your ideal client and this other piece around the awareness. What part of the awareness are they in? Are they already seeking what, a solution might be to their problem? Or are
Yeah.
they totally unaware and not seeking that? So I love that you're speaking into this and I love your thoughtful approach to this. And anytime I get to talk to, an expert in the field, I always learn something new or I'm reminded of something like, oh yeah, I haven't been doing that, So I'm like, I'm always
Right.
taking notes too. And then I was smiling too because one thing that came up with one of our other speakers was we did talk about that, like the skyrocket this and the delve into that. And so I know I was sharing with you about how with Ken, who totally geeks out on all this stuff, he created something that we added to the dashboard here, which is our kind of the blacklisted words. It's like
Yeah.
a AI cliche defender, so everyone has access
Yeah.
to that to like take out those words, right? It's just a custom GPT. We made it super simple for everybody. But my point is, I love your thoughtful approach to really being in that space of where are they in their journey, and if they're
Mhm.
already seeking a solution to the problem you solve, then you're not trying to. I love what you said. Convince the inconvincible. Is that what you said? Inconvincible. I'm trying to find my words
Yeah.
here. Yeah, that's so powerful.
Unconvincible, inconvincible, same, same.
Unconvincible, inconvincible. Yeah, one of them. So okay, so let's shift into the because I know you touched on it, and I know this is what people want to hear. So clearly, you have such great expertise in these systems you've built and the way in which you have both done it in your own business and for so many other businesses. So how have you integrated AI into what you're doing?
We've integrated it into literally everything that we do. So I would actually say that we've always been automation's first company, but now actually we're very much an AI first company. And I haven't really spoken about it, I have to say, because I was very concerned that my market personally is very entrepreneurial, let's just put it like that. And so they will get very easily distracted, right? And so, for example, we've been heavily using AI really for the last 2 years. And before it kind of became crazy popular everywhere, because like you, my partner is also like an AI bro, right? And I'm super grateful for that. And he's always like ahead of the trends on these things. So like I remember the first time he told me like, Lauren, look at this like ChatGPT thing. And it just wrote this website copy and I was like, what the heck? And it wasn't even prompted or anything. Like we hadn't made a custom GPT. We hadn't even learned about Claude or anything, but then I don't even know if that was even going. And so basically, let me focus primarily on, I'd say, the social media marketing side. And then if you want me to talk about the operations side of the business, I don't personally speak about that like so often because I would say my zone of genius is much more on the marketing.
Sure.
But ops wise, I mean, like our entire team has been trained on AI and we've let them know, like, guys, your jobs like are very much gonna be fully replaced by AI, and so you need to really learn this and upskill yourself so that then instead of like using yourself to do something, you want to use yourself to review something. Okay, so we've had them change their perspective of how they're doing things. Like a really good example is we also have a content agency, which I don't also really like market so much, but like instead of having a bunch of writers there, now we actually have a bunch of editors.
Yes.
So I just have that one perspective. But as an example, I'll use the content because we were talking about that, and that's the easiest one for me to explain. And the sales as well, because we touched on that too. So for example, the kind of magic in social media, right, really comes down to a couple of key elements, and I'll explain them very briefly. Okay. So 90 to 95% of the time must be spent on the first 1 to 2 lines. Very basic stuff, but I see most people going wrong when it comes to creating content because they'll be really worrying about the points that they're going to share in their post. But candidly, like it doesn't really matter. I'm going to show you an example of this and I will share my screen
Yeah.
because this is hilarious and also proves my point entirely. Okay. So if we look over here on threads, okay, so I'm just on threads right here. If I go to my profile, right, check this out. So this one post has 3.6 million views in the last 2 days on my threads. Okay.
Amazing.
But check this out. It makes me look like an asshole. And I did this on purpose, obviously, right? I'm a marketer. I'm testing something here. And so I just wanted to prove my point. So look, I look like the biggest asshole in the world, right? I denied my employee's request for 2 days off work. Sure, they're about to get married. Okay. You see those first 2 lines, right? That's like, what an absolute, pardon my French, but what an absolute dick, you know?
Yeah.
And then, anyway, my whole point of the post is we have flexible time off. You don't need to ask because you have an unlimited time off policy. That's my entire point of the post. But people went crazy because so some people read this, okay? Most people only read that and started telling me, you're an absolute, okay, look, 2 days, you could have registered your concern and given blah, blah, blah. So they're all just commenting back like, you're such an idiot. Now, the beautiful thing is, these are all just random employees who's not my target market at all, but they're boosting my post, boosting, right? Skyrocketing. They're sky
So
they're pushing my post up. So more people are seeing it and I'm getting more visibility. And yeah, sure, like I have like tons of haters on this, but do I care? No, because my Instagram DMs are full. They are, because then people look at my bio and they'll see that I do social media stuff. They then click on the link, they see the webinar. I have I couldn't even tell you how many DMs I've had saying this is such a genius hook. Like at least 200. At least. Maybe closer to 300, 400. Okay. Now I share that though, just because I spent maybe about 10 minutes on this hook, personally myself, because I was brainstorming. I actually brainstormed personally with ChatGPT. I
mhm.
know some people like Claude better. I like ChatGPT for brainstorming because we've trained a Lauren GPT. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was the one that thought about, sure, they're about to get married, but ChatGPT thought about, I denied my employee's request for 2 days off work.
Brilliant.
And then ChatGPT thought about, these bullet points because see, the only issue though is that here it says find a replacement. The reason why this post blew up so much is because when I say find a replacement, this is the context that you don't include in social media because it is controversial and it's good. I don't mean hire a replacement. I mean, look at our team and just pick a random person and say, hey, can you follow this SOP tomorrow? Because we
Huh?
document everything, like everything in our company is processized. Like we don't, there's no, but you have to remember most companies aren't like that. And so I was wasn't thinking about that when I realized people would read this and think that they literally mean like go and hire someone and train them. Like when I say find a replacement and train them, I mean like open this one sheet that has all your SOPs listed and like follow those SOPs for like 10 minutes. Okay, so anyway, I just share that because, but that's why this was so good because it was so controversial. So anyway, my point is, this is what got me, all these millions of views. And then that is obviously the next, controversial piece.
Yeah.
So then, if I spend my time on that, then I just in Claude, actually we have like a Claude project, for example, in order
Yeah.
to create the copy. I have a viral post framework, and then basically I put that into the AI, and then I'll say, here are the first two lines. Can you please follow the viral post framework and write me the rest of the post? And then it will spit something out for me, and then I'll review it, make a couple changes, and then I'll strategically decide where to cut it.
Amazing.
So, for
Amazing.
example, like this is all just one big piece of block of text. Now, I also put this on LinkedIn, for example, and I actually thought this was going to go viral on LinkedIn because this is a LinkedIn style of post, right? So, for example, like out of the last week, this sort of almost a million impressions, that's honestly pretty low, but it's mainly come from just one or two posts, which let's have a look here. Just trying to see which one it was. Yeah, but it only got 268,000 impressions on LinkedIn, which is super low. But look,
Right.
people on LinkedIn like it. They get it, right? It's normal for them. Whereas on Threads, they're shocked by it
Yeah.
because of how I strategically cut it. Do you see? Because most people didn't
Yeah.
read the rest of that post. So I'm just testing things when it comes to like how to cut things and how to frame what, ChatGPT is like spitting out or Claude what it's spitting out. Ultimately, my goal is to personally, honestly make it as, let's just say, controversial as possible because then it's going to get more reach. Now, I don't want to make me look like an idiot though to people that I care about looking like an idiot to. Because anyone who's actually got employees, they will read the whole thing, right? And
Right.
they're replying saying it's great and it's really good. That's how we're getting leads from it. But we're not putting all these call to actions and saying, go click the link in my bio, comment this word all the time. We're not doing that. This is a top of the funnel post, right? And so the whole reason is to reach more people. And then anyone who likes what they see here, they'll just trickle onto my profile. That's like the first type of content. And then the second type of content is middle of the funnel content, whereby we will like have a direct call to action. And then the third type of content is the bottom of the funnel content where we'll put out an offer. And so we're trickling through those types of content throughout the week. I'm right now in growth mode of my socials personally. So I'm mainly only doing top of the funnel content, but because I've already got the middle and bottom of the funnel content on my within my week already going out just once each time, like the top of the funnel content just naturally converts into leads already because of the basically the way I see it is that the content is doing the selling for you, and then you have content that's designed for all stages of the customer journey to get people to convert. So I kind of went on a bit of a tangent there, but
Love.
basically I think that it's really important for us to be able to know what's going to spark either curiosity, intent, or controversy in our market so that then we can spend like 95% of our time on that hook,
Mhm.
because then after that, the AI can do most of the work because most people aren't going to read it. But you have to, be able to look at what it spits out for you and then think, is this actually like, does this actually sound good? So, for example, when my AI is making content for me, like it's only pulling from me. It's not pulling from the internet. Like we've trained it to not pull from the internet because, like, for example, what we wrote in that post, it is all true. It's just that the AI phrased it in a very blunt way, which in hindsight, like, I'm totally fine with because even though people are pissed off about it, I don't care because the right people love it. And you
Right.
have to understand that when you're going to get like a million views on one piece of content, like this week alone, I think my content had maybe 5 or 6 million impressions across the platforms. And well, just across Threads and LinkedIn. That doesn't include Instagram, Facebook, and so because I'm getting consistently so many views, of course I'm gonna have haters. Of course I'm gonna have articles about me. Like, do you understand how many people that is? That is so many people. But I couldn't possibly create that type of content consistently like I do if I didn't have AI helping me. Okay, so I just share that to understand like a lot of people now would want to water down their message. And even when I first started getting, like, I don't really read the comments, but like it started going on my Google alerts that it was getting all in the news, right? And so I started looking at it by accident because I don't try and click on that stuff, but I just clicked on it. I couldn't help myself. And it was saying like, this multi-millionaire CEO doesn't denies 2 days off when her employee is getting married. And a lot of people would get put off putting out that content because it makes me, but I don't care because you know how many sales calls this has booked for us? I mean, literally dozens, dozens. Like even we just had two people alone yesterday join us and start working with us. And both of them were clients that paid us 16K in one
Yeah.
day from that one post. And that post was only like 2 days ago, right? And so I just share that because, again, people are going to start getting nervous and they'll want to water it down next time. They're going to be explaining themselves more. Now I'm explaining it to you now, okay, to give the context to understand why I don't tone it down.
Yes, so brilliant. Oh my gosh, I already have so many like wheels turning, and I always like to tap into the audience that's watching right now. And there's two things that I jotted down that I'd love to ask you about. One is
Sure.
you mentioned that you have a viral post framework. I'm sure there's somebody's like, how do I get that, or how do I follow her to learn more about that? Like, I know we weren't planning on talking about that necessarily, but I just consent. So if somebody wanted to learn about that from you in some way, shape, or form, where would they go to learn about that?
To be honest, we haven't actually given this out for free, but that's actually a pretty good idea for me to put it somewhere. So let me,
We
I'll
can
make
circle back. We can totally circle back. So I know I put you on the spot on this.
no,
Yeah,
no, okay, it's fine. I'm gonna make it so that if you comment on any of my Instagram posts saying the word viral, it will send it to you.
perfect. Love
Just
that.
making a
I just,
note to remember.
I know I want it, and I'm sure there are people watching like, thank you, Amy, for asking that question.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
second
yeah. I love
thing,
it. Good
yeah,
idea.
the second thing that again more people might actually know about this, but it's something that is so top of mind for me right now. I love that you're talking about the top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel. Like, can you speak a little bit into the middle of the funnel?
Yeah.
Like what like just if you could just give us an example of like, okay, so you shared an example of top of funnel and you're doing a lot of that for this amazing volume of people are coming in. Can you just talk about how you approach the middle of the funnel and what is the action you have people take there?
Yeah, so it's funny because obviously I get a lot of reach, but I would actually say my team's zone of genius is on the middle of the funnel piece.
Hmm.
So like again, the reach that we're getting is great, and obviously in LinkedIn I can also look at the analytics to see who it is, and actually the vast majority is like founder, CEO, co-founder, which is very promising, right? So I just share that though, just to say like the reach is cool, don't get me wrong, but it's only effective if you have the middle and the bottom of the funnel working well for you, because otherwise you're just going to get eyeballs and nothing, right? Because that,
Right.
like, I know tons of people who go viral and like they'll, this is one of the things that we hear all the time. Like, I had this one post that went viral, but like I didn't make any money from it. Of course you didn't if your social media isn't optimized for conversion. I mean, of course, like it just, how do people even know that you're open for business? So, real quick, just a TLDR for the people is in the top of the funnel, the really key thing is that you need to have authority and relatability in the first two lines.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay, so for example, the one that went mega viral for me just now, the authority is very, very weak on that one because it just says like I denied my employees request for like 2 days off. Sure, they're about to get married, but it says my employee. So that's minor authority for a business owner. So any business owners that don't have employees or that have a couple of employees, they'll read that to be like, why did she deny the time off even though they're about to get married? So that's very minor authority. And the relatability there is, employees will have had their time denied, which obviously sucks. And like that's what I'm fighting against in the post. And also anyone who has employees, they'll relate to thinking like, should I let somebody take off the time? So it's that one's kind of weaker. Usually a better approach for top of the funnel post would be more like, something like I've scaled 3 businesses to 7 figures per year. At first, I couldn't sell on a phone call. That would be authority and relatability. But
Okay.
anyway, I just share that because if someone's not getting reach, it's probably because the first two lines is lacking authority or relatability. You have to have both. You must have both. Otherwise, if you just have relatability, you're going to get a massive amount of attention, but no one's going to listen to you and think that you're someone of status, which is absolutely vital when it comes to selling on social media. And if you just have authority, but no relatability, people just kind of think like, you're a bit of an asshole. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so for the middle of the funnel, though, the way that I think about it is this, okay? If you keep a list of all the problems and pain points that you're hearing on sales calls, then you just talk about that. That's very simply it because you want to optimize to get more qualified leads, not just leads. The whole goal is qualified leads because If you just get leads, like it's an opt-in, right? It may be like an opt-in out of the sake of being intrigued, but not out of intent. So there's a massive difference between intent and intrigue, or interest and intent. So interest or intrigue is kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, what is that all about? Whereas
Right.
intent is, I love this. Like, I want to get this. So
Mhm.
I want to get the solution. So I optimize everything not around intrigue and interest, but around intent when it comes to middle of the funnel, because otherwise what ends up happening is like you or your sales team or your setters will get on the phone and they'll be like, yeah, I was just kind of curious about like what you had going on. And that's obviously what you want to avoid because that's called a waste of time. So
Right.
at the end of the day, when it comes to the middle of the funnel content, if you keep a list of the problems and pain points you hear on sales calls, and again, I have tried to use AI for this, and like I know, for example, like we're working right now on feeding in sales calls and then being able to like categorize it, but we just haven't found a really good solution yet. I think that there's somehow some discrepancy either between what we're doing or what can be done right now when it comes to organizing this in the way that we want it done. So at the moment, we're doing this manually, but basically, we're noting down the top pain points and problems that we hear on the sales calls of people that buy. Because again, we can optimize everything around sales calls of qualified leads who don't buy, but there's no point in doing that because they didn't give us money. So we really look at the smallest group of people, which is the ones that give us money, and then basically obviously they have to be ICP, like ideal client profile, but we're not taking money from people that aren't, so it just isn't an issue for us. But I say that just because I know some people sell to everyone. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about only the ideal clients, and then from there, let's just say you'll find typically most of the time between 2 to 4 key issues. And then the middle of the funnel content is only around that. And there's two types of middle of the funnel content that I like to use. It's direct. So it's like something along the lines of like, I'll do a super basic one, but it could be like, are you struggling to figure out why people buy from you? Are you struggling to figure out why your best clients buy? I'm giving away a brand new training, the Ideal Client Profile Generator for free today. It's a AI tool that'll figure out your ICP in 2 minutes or less. One access 100% free. Reply ICP and I'll DM you the link, right? Like that would just be a really random example off the top of my head. But another
Mhm.
example would be basically where you break down a case study into a social media post, right? So it would be like, I met a consultant who had 100,000 plus followers. He was making less than $4 a week. Here's how we're now scaling him to multiple seven figures. Number one, we figured out his ideal client profile. Da da da. Number two, blah blah blah. So it's just gonna be like that. So you're basically breaking down a case study into a series of very basic points. But the main thing is you can't share everything. You have to like really put it into like bite-sized nuggets, really
Mhm.
make it so consumable. Just little nuggets, right? You have to just realize you can't give all the context in the world in short form content. And the whole goal there is to get them to comment a word or depending on the platform, right? So for example, like on LinkedIn, you don't want them to comment a word because it's just going to take you like if let's just say like for example 2 weeks ago I had a post that had 8 million impressions, just one post. It was about 8.8 million impressions actually. If I even had like 1% of those people comment, like that's going to just take it's you can't, it doesn't work. You physically can't do it because they don't let you message that many people.
Mhm.
So for example, on LinkedIn, like I would just put the link directly in the post. For some reason on LinkedIn, they actually allow that and it doesn't really damage your reach too much, which is super weird. On Facebook though, obviously you don't want to do that because it's going to destroy your reach. And then on Twitter, you would just put the link after the thread. Same on threads. And then on Instagram, commenting is fine. But if you're going to do that, just don't have the automatic reply so that it comments back. Because if you have an automatic comment response, like you can get your Instagram account blocked really easily because they detect suspicious like similarities of responses. Even if you have like 10 variations. I just know tons of people that have got their account banned that way. Even just
Yeah.
temporarily, it's not good. So either you can get people to comment or click the link or even just go to the link in the bio, honestly. Like if I'm honest, my approach on this, it really depends on how direct you want to be and how intent driven you want to be. But sometimes I'll just like if I'm really trying to go for like qualified bottom of the funnel leads and a bottom of the funnel post, which will be more of just an offer instead of just the case study that I mentioned, I will literally just say, just click the link and schedule a meeting. So I think people overthink it a lot, if I'm perfectly honest. If you're giving away a freebie though, I think you need to just make it clear, like you're gonna comment access and I'll send you my viral post generator for free.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Oh my gosh. I feel like I could talk to you for 10 hours straight because this is the
I know.
stuff, right? Like it's so fun. And I'm like, I'm taking notes and my wish for everyone watching is that you're taking notes too, because there is likely something that she has shared, if not multiple things that you're not already doing. And I'm so grateful that we've had this time together because it's so top of mind for me to grow my own reach, because people always think I have a much larger like email list than I do or a following to do because of what I've been able to do with a smaller list, right? Like
Mhm.
compared to
Yeah,
like others who have like hundreds of thousands, right? And at the same time, I love the idea of being really thoughtful with my approach to the top of the funnel that I certainly have room to optimize. So even with some things you're sharing with me, I'm like, I'm going to get with my team and be like, everyone needs to watch Lauren's interview because there's so many gold nuggets and how you've integrated AI into it so that you're working hand in hand with AI. And I know there's so much more that you're doing with it that I might be hitting you up to come in and speak to our community again because this is so good. But I do need to be mindful of the time. So my question for you is I know that we were talking about a really cool resource on you talked about the psychology of the buyer, the psychology of marketing. And I know that you have a really great resource on psychological triggers. Could you speak into the resource a bit?
totally. Yeah. So I actually shared on my own social medias, like quite literally hundreds of thousands of posts over the years, not to mention like the clients that we've worked with, right? And like that we've done their socials for. And what we did is like using AI, we actually were able to cherry pick. There was around 60,000 or so. We now put more in, from myself and from our clients now, the top performers, like we feed it in and we basically identified like the commonalities between the posts that have been the most successful. And that's how we identified that, okay, if a post is going to get like crazy amounts of reach or crazy amounts of leads or crazy amounts of clients, like there's three different buckets for top, middle, and the bottom of the funnel content. There's different psychological triggers that should be embedded in the content in order for it to actually drive reach or leads or clients. And
Mm.
so that's how using AI we were able to figure out what those 17 psychological triggers are because I was just unconsciously doing it before. So I was putting these triggers into the content without knowing because then I was like sometimes wondering why did this post do so well when this one is so similar? It's because it was just missing one of the triggers. And so that's the training that we've put together. So yeah, your people can have it for free. I'll make sure that they have the link in case it doesn't work for any reason. You can always just comment 17, like the number 17 on any of my Instagram posts, and then it will send it over. Just let me know that you came from Amy though. If for some reason, like, if you comment on the post, just send me a message on IG, just letting me know. Because we look at all the messages while we use also some AI in our DMs, which we didn't talk about. We are still looking into the messages because we actually check through everything to make sure that it's all good. And that's why sometimes you'll get a personal message from me or somebody from my team. So
Yeah. So, and quick, a couple, two things. One, for everyone watching, you're going to see a button here on this page to get access to the 17 psychological triggers to embed into your content to get 3 to 8 times more qualified leads from what you're sharing already, which is so generous of you. So thank you, Lauren. So make sure everybody grab that link. I'm going to definitely be grabbing it. My team's going to be grabbing it because I definitely want to use this. But when you were saying that people could comment these words, do you have automation set up then for when
yeah.
somebody comments a specific word? Oh, okay. We definitely need to have
Only on Instagram. Yeah, yeah, only on Instagram. I wouldn't recommend it for the other platforms. But yeah, we just use High Level for that.
Mm,
People
yep,
use ManyChat, but like for us, ManyChat was just too expensive because when you get so many, it goes so expensive all of a sudden.
yeah.
And then High Level can do it now. And then yeah, we're also after someone starts replying, we're also using AI.
Nice. Amazing. I love it. Well, Lauren, this has been so delightful. Like I said, I wish we could go on and on and on. And I definitely want to have more conversations with you and introduce you to my audience like every time we talk about AI. So I'll be hitting you up for that. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule, out of your travels. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Japan. And
Yes.
hopefully we'll get the chance to meet in person here in the near future. I really appreciate you.
100%. Thank you so much. No, this was really fun. And if anyone has any questions, just reach out and I'm happy to answer if I can. And if not, then, connect you with someone if necessary. So
Yeah.
I
If
appreciate
they
it.
want to find you on the socials, how do they find you?
They'll find me.
They'll find you. I love it. Awesome. All right.